Welcome to another episode of Come Together. The phone speaker when we're live. Dr. Levitt, hello. There we go. We're live. Welcome.
Hi,
thank you so much for
you.
doing this. Thanks for having me in your beautiful home. I appreciate it.
Having you. I'm excited.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me who you are, where you mentioned that you're from Montreal originally, and what do you do? It sounds like you do a lot.
Yeah. I have a lot in my little toolbox is quite full. So I'm a medical doctor and I'm trained in family medicine. But before I went to med school, I actually went to India. And I think that set the stage of my career path because when I went to India, I got exposed to meditation and yoga and food as medicine. And things at the time. I mean, now it's popularized. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody knows about it. But 30 years ago, or 35 years ago, I hate to say that, it was sort of the unknown. You know, a guru was something weird. And I got exposed to all that. And then I went to medical school. So I had that already implanted in me that, you know, meditation is really important. Lifestyle is really important. What you eat is going to affect how you feel. And it can also be medicinal. So that changed the course of my career. I went into family medicine. I did a residency. And I was actually looking for an opportunity after that to do something innovative. And I ended up being the first MD to work at a functional medicine lab.
Cool. What does the functional medicine lab do? Would you like a minute?
I'm good.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you want, they're there. Yeah. So, functional medicine lab.
So, functional medicine, which is now, a really big field in medicine. At the time, it was sort of unknown, and really, it's root cause medicine. So, in regular medicine, what I learned in all of my training was people came to you sick, and you treated them. And with probably a medication is most likely the outcome is you're going to be put on a medication. And in functional medicine is like, how did you get here? What led to this? What in your lifestyle, in your gut, in your microbiome, in your environment led to you getting a disease? And can we reverse that? And how do we do that? And that fascinated me.
So that's functional. So you were the first
MD to work at this company. Wow. It used to be called Great Smokies Diagnostic Labs, and now it's Genova. And I was basically going out and educating other physicians and chiropractors about this kind of medicine, like why essential fatty acids are relevant to your health. And
but they're not learning that in med school?
So at that time, no. I mean, even today, they're not really learning that. It's kind of ironic.
It's great. So cool. So, okay. This is an amazing place to start. Because now we're going to go back. This is amazing. This is a perfect place to start.
I just got started.
I love it. I know. I'm so excited.
Ago. I haven't even gotten to today.
So I know, but I'm this is consider this a combination of like a class and a personal bio.
Sure.
Right? How'd you get to India? What were you doing in India?
All right. Well, so I kind of felt a little lost in my life, like internally.
Yes.
I mean, everything was going fine on the outside, but internally I felt like something is happening that I'm not aware of. Like I need to feel connected. So I was 19.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
And I read this book. It was called The Snow Leopard. And I think it was by Matheson. And he went to Nepal to look for the snow leopard. And he went trekking in the mountains, Annapurna, and he never found the snow leopard, but he found himself. Like he discovered more about himself. And I thought, that's for me. I need to find out who I am, what is this life thing all about on a really deep level.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take a year off. I had been to McGill. I did my undergrad, so I was applying into med school. Actually, I was trying to decide, do I go
between?
Yeah, well, I made an in-between. There usually is no in-between. Nice. You know, you just go from school to school to school to school, and then you become a doctor or whatever. I needed an in-between. And so I took a time off, and I said, I'm just going to go to India.
Wow.
Of course,
What'd your family think?
My parents were just crazed. I mean, what are you doing with your life? You're wasting your life. I can't believe
it. Oh, man. Sure.
And, I was 19, and at 19, you don't care. You could do anything, right? You're really powerful. It's funny how you feel so strong, even though you don't know anything, which makes you naive, but it didn't matter. I didn't know that at the time. I'm like, I'm just going to go to India.
Yeah.
And before I left, it was really interesting because I kept meeting these people who guided me towards this ashram in India. I kept meeting these people who were like, yeah, I've been to this place and you got to go there. So in my back pocket, I had, a name of somebody a place I was going to go in India. So I left. I was going to go for a year. I was going to travel the world. I was going to.
Was it like, what was it when you got there and you were like, was it were you just like, when you got there, was it, oh my God, can I handle this? Or this is so exciting? Or like, what was your initial reaction to like?
I had already been to Africa. I went a year before. I went to Africa and had like a wild experience there where, I was 17 and thrown into like an adult position where I was actually working in a safari, like just crazy kind of stuff. So I had already experienced.
You've been already through culture shock.
Third world country.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But India is unique. I mean, it is, you land in Delhi. At the time, it was like just hundreds of people on the streets and incense burning and odd smells and people grabbing at you. And there's a lot of beggars on the street. It was really overwhelming. But I was so excited because I was going to find myself, right? Like I was going to find out who I was. And actually, before I left, I applied to medical school.
Okay. Which
gave my parents a little sense of peace. Like, okay, at least she's got, some brain cells that are still working. And then I jumped in and went to India. And then I went to visit where the Dalai Lama lived, and I started learning about meditation and Buddhism. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up going to the place that everyone told me I needed to go. And I literally showed up there and I saw all these, I'm going to say white people, like Americans walking down the street with these shawls, like these typical Indian shawls. And I thought, I must be at the right place. But I couldn't find the ashram because it was hidden. And I was there for 3 days. I was staying I was living on $5 a day. So I was staying in a really nasty place. And after the third day of bed bugs, I'm like, I'm out of here. I don't know what people are talking about. And I was walking down the street and coming out of the car was this man with a beard, and he smelled beautiful, he looked beautiful, and he's like, come with me. And that was the beginning of my stay in this ashram in India.
So you were about to leave?
I was about to leave. I gave up. I'm like, this is not happening.
Yeah.
And
so what do you learn? What do you teach? How did it start? Was it formal classes? Was it one-on-one?
No, it was so organic. I mean, literally, the reason I couldn't find the place is because there's no signage or anything. It was just a whole bunch of people sitting around, meditating, talking about spirituality. And that's how it was every day. There was like 2 or 3 meditation sessions per day. And then there were sessions with the guru. They could be anywhere from 20 minutes to like 5 hours. It depended on what the guru wanted to do in that moment. And it was completely unpredictable. And I really think the reason that happened that way was because to teach us about, life is not predictable.
Yeah.
It doesn't come in a slot. And when you're meditating, you think, oh, it's supposed to go this way. And one of the things I learned is meditation goes the way it goes. Mm-hmm. You don't judge it. And that's what prevents a lot of people from meditating is they think, I can't because my mind is racing. And then what I learned is that, yes, your mind is racing. Everybody's mind is racing. You just sit. You just sit through it and you watch.
You just watch.
You just watch.
Do you try to shift yourself to the mindset of like almost like observing your own mind?
It's exactly what it is. You're basically sitting there as a watcher.
You're thinking,
Well, you're not curious in this type of meditation. Sure. It's just observing and knowing that the thoughts are like the wave of the ocean. They come and they go. And where are you in all of this?
Yeah.
You're the witness. You're just watching.
I started carrying a little notebook around, a tiny little notebook. It's in the car actually, and it's literally just for when these little sparks of thoughts that like I don't want to lose, but come like flashing forward. Like when they come forward, I'm like, okay, just quickly get that down, and and it's caused me to spend more time aware of my thoughts, and then the more you're aware of them, I feel like the more I've been able to follow them. I feel like almost like imagine if it's a movie set, right? And it's all dark and it's Seattle, so it's all it's all misty, and you see a shape in the back, and you're like you can either and like you kind of tell the outside of it what it looks like. You want to kind of go like see what it looks like in the light, and you start like walking with it past, and you find right, that's what it is. So like I think a lot of people have a lot of thoughts or experiences that they vaguely recognize, and they kind of just come and go, and we don't give them a lot of attention. But like if you just follow those thoughts down a little bit, then like they become a lot more clear, and then you start to know yourself more.
Well,
Know yourself a little better.
It sounds like you're talking a little bit about intuition too.
Okay.
Right? Like you have, there's a fine line between intuition, like you're feeling something, and that, I mean, thoughts are coming and going all the time.
Yeah.
And some are positive, some are negative, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the idea of meditation is to understand, I am not those thoughts.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay.
I'm just a witness of those thoughts.
And so then what are you?
Well, your space. You're connecting to the energy of your being, mm-hmm. rather than the thoughts. And so what happens is, for example, if you're a kind of person who has a lot of negativity in their life, it's very powerful because you realize, wait, I don't have to identify with every single thought that comes into my head. That is not truth. That is not fact. They're just thoughts.
Oh, interesting. Gotcha. We think we're our thoughts, but we're not.
We identify with every single thought, and it makes us crazy because it's the incoming is constant. So not everybody is like this. Not everybody has a wild, crazy mind, but they call it the monkey mind because it's always working. It's sure. Trying to attach. It's trying to do. It's like all these thoughts coming in. If you paid attention to all these thoughts, you would be running back and forth circles. But if you took a step back and said, wait, I'm not these thoughts. Who am I? And that's the point of meditation. Like, who are you really?
So are you your experiences? Are you your actions? Are you your relationships? Are you your...
According to
yeah.
my life, no, you're none of that.
So what are... So
You're trying to recognize that beam of light, that essence that came into you. Some people would call it your soul.
Yeah.
Right? This ethereal essence of who you are, not the body. So they would describe it like you're this essence, you're this light, and then you land in this body and you become Ephraim, you become Alison. And the minute you do that, you become identified as that. Mm-hmm. And then your whole life, you build on that identity. But for some people, that doesn't lead them into a very positive place, or you're not finding that sense of peace that you want in your life. Because if you're always seeking from the outside, if you're seeking your happiness from the outside, from your thoughts, good luck.
Yeah.
Right?
And I guess your thoughts are you're processing what's going on around you as opposed to coming from within.
Listen, if you know who you are, like there are certain people that you meet and they're just standing in their essence. Like they know who they are.
They're themselves.
They don't need a degree. They don't need to be told that they're doing wonderful things or that they're amazing. They just know.
Yes.
And it's not from an ego standpoint.
Yeah.
They just know. They have a confidence. They have a sense of peace, a sense of calm.
Right.
I think most people are looking for a sense of calm, a sense of peace in their life. And this meditation was a way to find that.
So eloquently put. And I think so many people need that.
Oh.
I've so many. And you know what's funny? I think you have it when you're younger. And I think as you learn to... I think as you learn the dance that is relationships in the world and life and teachers and boyfriends, girlfriends, everything, you have to adjust to so many external forces that you kind of lose track of yourself. And I think a lot of people, and then it becomes either scary to try to be alone to realize that you don't know who you are, and that's what scares a lot of people. And then there's the experience of if I find out who I am and I can't be myself almost. I would say hypothetically for myself, not hypothetically, but, for example, with myself, I don't feel like I'm a salesman. I'm not a salesman. It's not my essence, my essence. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. It's like a sharer. It's like someone that relationships and sharing. I never feel more authentic and I'm fulfilling my potential and my purpose than when I'm doing those type of things. And then it rejuvenates me and it enhances every aspect of my life, and actually brings everything else that I do. It makes it better and more fun and more meaningful and more deep and more pleasant to be around when I'm engaging in those kind of activities. And if I don't do a podcast or I don't do any writing or I don't do anything for a week or two or a month, I become like a shell of myself. I feel it, and I actually get down, and I start to recognize like downness in me, and I'm like, oh, I need that. I need a fresh dose of writing. I need a fresh dose of an open mic to play some guitar. I need to do a podcast or two, and I do it, and so, but it took me 26, 27 years to figure that out.
I'm still figuring it out. So good. I'm so happy that at 27 you figured it out.
I figured out some part of it. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm not getting it. I feel it. I feel it.
If you feel it, you're getting it.
Yeah.
100%. It's all about how you feel in your life on a daily basis. I mean, that's exactly what I do in medicine too. It's about making people look beautiful and feel good from the inside out.
Right.
But there's a lot of elements that go into play. And for you, it's doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really important for you. For other people, it's managing, their diet or their lifestyle or their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has different elements of their life that contribute to how they feel and their health, right? It's all related.
Yeah.
Really. It's 100% related. Yeah. But if you can feel good despite whatever's happening on the outside, that is a miraculous feeling.
Right.
And that's not an easy place to get to. And I'm not talking about physical health. But that comes, just knowing who you are and feeling good within yourself, whether you're doing a podcast or whether you're married or single or have kids, none of that. If you can just feel good and know who you are and feel calm and at peace and move through life and be giving, like you said, helping people and being like the Buddhist, that's a beautiful thing. If you're there at 27, kudos to you.
29 now. Yeah, it took me. I started a couple years ago. Did you? So when you came, I want to keep talking about that for a little bit. But when you came back, did med school feel like a cold, like totally different universe than like where you came from?
Well, actually, it's funny because in retrospect, I think I was, it felt pretty culty in India. But at the time, I didn't feel it. No, it helped me get through med school. I don't think I would have gone through med school without meditation. I really feel like it helped me.
Really?
Yeah, first of all, it helps you focus.
Okay.
Like it helped me study. It helped me be like one pointed in my intention. Like I knew, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do this. But it gave me a mode of concentration that I don't know I necessarily would have had without meditation. I was meditating every day.
Wow.
And also I wasn't, at the time you could be working 100, 120 hours a week. And so if I could get a 5-minute meditation break, it gave me energy. Like it allowed me. So I was really grateful for that. And I also had a bigger purpose in life. And that, when you have a purpose in life, it changes everything.
Right.
Right? It gives you energy just knowing, okay, I'm here to do this.
Right.
That really helps.
Yeah. That's interesting too. Because I have a very good friend of mine that's actually in med school now. And he's a relatively uncommon case, I believe. I don't know, but from the friends that I know in the world that I'm from, he started med school when he was married with 2 kids.
Oh yeah.
And then I have my single friends that are in med school, and for some reason he seems better at managing his time and making his way through med school. I'm like, how do you do that? And he's like, well, I'm not going to let my wife and kids go ignored for 10 years, while I'm trying to get, I'm going through med school and residency. Like, so like, I almost have to make it work. But I guess it's like almost similar to what you're saying. Like when you have that thing that's grounding you and you have like that purpose that, like this is what I'm in school for and this is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is the purpose of it. Then you learn to balance everything and not let that slip aside, I guess, right?
Oh, it's a huge driving force, especially, family.
Yeah.
You need to support your family. If you want to maintain that, you have to be one pointed.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. So that really helped you in med school.
Oh, I think it has, and residency. I kept going back and forth to India as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really pivotal in guiding me. And then I kept learning when I was in India. I kept learning about nutrition and Ayurvedic medicine, and I realized, wow, like here I am in medical school learning about this kind of medicine, and then there's other kind of medicines. Like,
was it formal learning, or how did you learn about that in India?
It was not formal. There were Ayurvedic physicians that I worked with when I was there.
Yeah.
And of course, learning meditation and yoga was all part of what I did every day.
Yeah.
And that really changed the course of my career because I realized, wow, there's so much more here than just dispensing medication, and I want to be part of that.
Yeah, it gets you out of that box.
It was for sure. Yeah, it was innovative at the time, and I didn't know how it would manifest, but I just loved it. And I loved, thinking that our ancestors have been doing this for so many years.
Yeah.
Even though there's no clinical trial on this, there's got to be something behind this, right? Like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And, med school is it's warranted. Everything you learned has had a clinical trial, it's rigorous study, it's FDA approved. And then here I was exposed to a whole other world of tradition.
Yeah.
That, my grandmother did it and they did it and it worked. And so I'm going to do it too. Wow. And my goal was to meld the two and practice medicine that way.
So amazing, so unique. It's so cool. I feel, yeah. The more I hear about stories like yours and stories like this, I feel like we should have, for medicine at least, like these international programs where we exchange.
Oh, that'd be great.
What we know, and at least just for a little bit of exposure, and if a student chooses, says it's not my speed, but it's good to know that it exists and it's out there, then great. And if it really speaks to you, then that you could really implement that into your life, and we could have more of that.
Yeah, that would be a great idea. I mean, med schools, there's so much you have to learn. In retrospect, for many, many years, I thought I loved what I learned and I appreciated it and I condemned it. We didn't learn nutrition. We didn't learn this. We didn't learn that. And I realized there's a lot to pack in.
Yeah.
Learning the human body is a tremendous task, and you've got 4 years to learn it in school and then, X amount of years in residency. I almost wish that part of the med school curriculum included a more unique perspective, because a lot of what I learned in med school is foundational. Mm-hmm. And yet I feel like I don't know if I ever used that ever on my, and I think, couldn't we learn a little bit more nutrition and food is medicine? And you're, like you said, be exposed to how other cultures dealt with different diseases and ailments. That would have been fascinating.
Yeah.
I would have loved
especially if they're as rich of history and tradition as something like India, America's young, it's a little arrogant of us to say, oh, we've been here for 300 years, we got it all worked out, we're not going to talk to anyone else,
Medicine is just a few years behind, I will say. I remember I was going out and talking to physicians about taking fish oils, and this was,
Someone else the doctor mentioned to me yesterday, actually, fish oils. Yeah, something he recommends for everyone's steak.
And, the cardiologist would laugh me off the stage. This is when I was working for that functional medicine company. And it was really hard because I really believed in it. There were studies that showed, not a lot, but there were some scant studies that showed it could be beneficial to lower inflammation. And they just laughed. In the meantime, 25 years later, they are prescribing it. So medicine does catch up. It just takes time.
Yeah, and it needs people to say it, though. It needs to be done. It needs to be pushed. Yeah.
And that's happening. The world right now of medicine is exploding with these other types.
So what are you excited about? Tell me what you're all excited about now, because I know there's so much to be excited about.
It's so amazing because now this whole world of longevity medicine
is exploding. It's so great.
It's so great. And the funny part is, if you look at the basis of longevity medicine, a lot of it is sleep, lifestyle, exposure to toxins. So these are basic elements that most functional medicine doctors or alternative physicians or naturopaths have been talking about for years. Oh, the gut microbiome all of a sudden is important.
Yeah.
So I love how it seems to all be coming together now.
Yeah.
With the inclusion of technology, it's going to be groundbreaking. I feel like things are going to dramatically change, and it's gonna happen really fast because of AI technology. Mm-hmm. So I think medicine is going to be medicine. The way I see it is medicine, allopathic medicine that I trained in, is always going to exist. It's necessary, but it's for the masses. Healing somebody is individual. It's personalized. It's very different than healing the masses. And I appreciate the need for that. But then if you want longevity, if you want real health, you're going to get really personalized medicine. That's the only way to know what you need as an individual to be healthy.
You should have the option to be a doctor of medicine or a doctor of health.
That's interesting.
And that way, you can have a specialist that specializes in particular medication. Because I feel like medicine, the more that people talk about it, and the more that we think about it and the more that we notice its application and its use, it's responsive. Like it's just like medicine is just like, no one pre-prescribes you, steroids in case, you have inflammation. You wait for someone to get inflammation, you come in and you do it. But you can pre-prescribe someone sunlight. You could pre-prescribe someone a healthy diet. You could pre-prescribe someone, hey,
Prevention.
You know what? Yeah, I noticed, and I'm trying to tell my dad now, my or maybe you can tell me if you know a lot of the recent research in terms of Alzheimer's being some kind of, I've heard it being described as type 3 diabetes almost.
Yes.
And do you want to explain kind of how that works a little bit?
Okay, sure.
If you don't mind, if you're familiar with it.
From meditation to brain disorders, yes.
Yes, because my grandfather was always afraid of it. He goes, it runs in our family. But my grandfather was never healthy until probably his late 50s, early 60s when he had a heart problem. He had a double bypass surgery. And then he started working out after that. But now, within a couple of years, his memory's kind of gone. Mm-hmm. And my dad does not really exercise. He moves around, but he doesn't really exercise, and he doesn't do a lot. He doesn't take care. He doesn't take care to eat healthy things. And I'm like, Pop, you got 6 kids. You got 6 grand-fit kids. You're 55. You have the entire world. Why would you not be preparing yourself for when you're his age that you get to appreciate all of that? Get to live like that. Yeah. So what do you? So do you want to explain to me what we're learning recently?
Well, I just want to take a step back for a second, and then in medicine, ultimately, what happens is you go and you see a brain doctor, or you go and you see a heart doctor, or you go and you see an endocrinologist.
Isolated.
It's very like you have different boxes for different organs, but we're all connected. Everything is connected. So if you have diabetes, or if you have a metabolic disorder, meaning if you have trouble like insulin resistance or elevated glucose or elevated hemoglobin A1C, high lipids, it's not just about your heart. It's not just about diabetes, but it affects everything. It affects, we have 60,000 miles of vessels in our body. Okay?
60,000 miles?
Miles of different kinds of vessels.
Okay.
So you can imagine there's a lot of maintenance that has to go on to keep those vessels flowing really well. Yeah. We know that every single organ needs oxygen, right? The brain needs oxygen. The heart needs oxygen. And,
breathing's so important.
It's like what?
It's like breathing is so important. It's why... breathing is so important.
Essential. Yeah. And then, thinking of the things that could damage these arteries. But the point is it's a highway of connections, right? So what affects one thing affects the other thing. If you have diabetes, it's not just a problem with insulin and glucose. It affects the vessels, like the microvessels.
Yeah.
And, what is the number one nutritional component that the brain needs? It's oxygen.
Right.
20% of the body's oxygen goes to the brain. If you can't get oxygen to the brain, it's going to suffer, right? If you have inflammation in your brain because you have insulin resistance or elevated sugars, it's going to create inflammation in the brain, and that when the brain tries to repair itself, it's going to damage itself in that process.
Because it's inflamed.
Because it's inflamed.
Okay. And inflammation comes from... what does inflammation occur as a result of?
Inflammation can come from many different sources, okay? Diet is one of the most common initiating factors is not having a healthy diet. So
I'm eating hamburgers every day, right? I'm eating hamburgers every day, 3 meals a day, or pizza and hamburgers every day, right? So I look like I'm a balloon, right? You see a swell. You can see swelling. I don't actually. Let's say hypothetically I were to.
Yeah.
And you can kind of almost see when people look a little swollen from the processed food that they're eating, or breads primarily, I guess. But So again, how does that convert to inflammation?
Well, if you think about it, so first there's a gut issue, right?
Right.
Let's start from the beginning. So you're putting a processed foods, and there's hundreds of chemicals in that food.
Sure.
That alone, that hamburger from wherever you're getting it from, unless you're getting it, it's 100%
grass. Yeah. We're assuming not. We're
going to eat at a fast food place.
Yeah.
That thing is filled with chemicals.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your starting point. It hasn't even gotten into your mouth, and you just imagine you've got this hamburger filled with chemicals. Now you're going to bite into it, and you're going to put that in your gut.
Yeah.
And that all these chemicals, some of them are going to be absorbed.
Yeah.
And they're going to start they have to be filtered out through the liver and the kidney. So they're going to hit your bloodstream.
Okay.
These are chemicals that are hazardous to your health. We don't even know what these chemicals do, actually. A lot of chemicals that are in our food they're banned in Europe, and we still put them in our food.
Well, hopefully that'll be changing.
Yeah, hopefully
that'll be changing.
But so now you're eating these chemicals. It's going to affect your microbiome, which really has a huge impact. If you don't have a healthy GI system, that's going to be a first point where inflammation can start.
Okay.
And then now you have these chemicals floating through your body. That's another point.
And we don't know what those chemicals are. By the way, it scared the heck out of me. Someone asked me the difference recently between a chemical and a drug. I was like, I don't know. They're like, a drug is intended for human use and a chemical is not.
I mean, it's almost like the word organic. What does organic mean? Like in the food industry, it means like the animal or, the produce has no pesticides or chemicals.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of organic, I'm quoting right now, chemicals. Right, that are used in chemistry labs, and so it's kind of like what you're saying.
Just because it says organic on it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
No, like hopefully the foods that we buy that are organic are organic.
Right.
Hopefully that means something. That would be awful if it didn't. I mean, there are people who speculate that it may not all the time, but we can only do our best. Like
we could only do our best.
We're on this planet. There's a tremendous amount of chemicals. There's plastics everywhere. We're finding microparticles in the brain, by the way. So
reproductive organs all over the place.
It's affecting all your hormones. It's affecting your gut. It's affecting people's longevity for the most part. And then you add on things like
like my plastic water bottle.
Never drink out of plastic water bottles.
I know.
One of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I pick up plastic all day long on the beach. Like I'm out there with a bag and I'm picking up plastic and I'm thinking, why? Like this is devastating. It's devastating to your body and the planet. Yeah,
because I can't pass up the 40 pack of water bottles in Costco for $4.
No, pass it up.
Pass it up.
Get a water filter. Get a canister. Fill it up with water.
Would a cooler be better or no? Because a cooler is one giant plastic container as opposed to like a bunch of little bottles. No, it's not any better.
That has plastic.
It's no good.
Avoid,
okay.
Unless you're putting your metal container into a plastic cooler.
I gotcha.
I would, and you've got kids. So what I tell my patients is, we may not have control of what's going on out there, but you have control of what's going on in your life and what you put in your body. You certainly have a little bit of control of that, right? So you got to at least initiate, say, okay, in my house, I'm not going to use any chemicals.
Okay.
I'm going to, my cleaning products are going to be healthy. I'm not going to drink. I'm going to get rid of all my plastic containers. I'm just going to use glass. Easy. Costco has glassware,
Yeah.
I'm going to get a nice water filter system and I'm going to fill up my bottles before I leave my house. Like simple things that you can do to change the course of your family's health. You have a baby.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Like even
it feels better hearing that from you than my wife.
That's like, did she say the same thing? I love her already.
She was like, she was like, she goes, I don't want to pressure you. I know that, there's a lot of bills in life. She's like, I'd really, really like a water filter.
You know how much money you calculate? I would love to know how much money you spend a year on water bottles.
I can tell you right now, probably. I probably spend $12 a week on water bottles.
Okay,
so I probably finish 40 packs a week. So it's 120 water bottles.
Yeah.
I didn't want to think about the amount of plastic that is.
Let's not even talk about plastic.
Just the water, yeah. So
don't care about plastic; they care about money.
12.20.
But at the end of the day, it's about the
$36 a month. Times 12. I'm spending $120 a year.
Okay, now that's you. You're one person. How many people are? Let's say your wife doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then now you have the years. Okay, so how many years are you gonna, you're gonna do for the next 20 years? You've done it for 29.
I've done it forever, yeah.
Okay, and now you're gonna do it for the next 20. So now we're up to a lot of money.
Yeah. So, and what's the water filter cost typically? A couple $1,000 or less?
Yeah.
A couple grand.
I mean, you can get a whole house water filtration system that's pretty decent, for way less than what, and Okay, so now we're going to add in the chemical, the toxic component.
Uh,
So you didn't just save money, but now you're saving your cells from a disastrous ending.
Yeah.
We don't even know what that ending is actually, because these chemicals, the idea that we were exposed to these PFAS, these long-term organic chemicals that sit in your cells for years and years, we
know what the consequence is.
not really, but we do know that like cancer is rising, heart disease is rising.
Yeah. Well, we know that whatever we've been doing is not right. That's what we know.
I mean, I keep saying to people, like, okay, when I went to med school, the number one leading cause of death was cardiovascular disease. Then it was cancer. Still, we have cardiologists up the wazoo. We have medications. We have all these things in play. And what's still the number one leading cause of death? Cardiovascular disease worldwide, 18 million people. And it's like nothing has changed in a way in so many years.
Yeah.
So what other direction can we look in to change those statistics? Because I don't want to become a statistic.
No. You want to be a good statistic. You want to be a good statistic. Right.
And you're young, like you're in a great position because there's so much information. Like
I know. I'm so excited. It's such an exciting time. Literally.
It's so exciting. You have so many tools available to you to stay healthy.
I don't know why more people aren't getting. I think a lot of people are excited, but like hearing all this stuff is just hopeful. Like to me, like it's something that like people would want to hear, I imagine. We've had bad news travels really fast. And like when you have an opportunity for good news and they give an opportunity for something exciting to hear, like, oh my God, we're making great research. All you got to do is just spend some time outside and go for a walk with your friends for 20 minutes, a couple of times a week. Like, just do that. Like, your life will already be better. Like, you're getting community, you're getting exercise, you're getting out there, you're getting sunlight. Like, I used to get these headaches from sitting just at my desk all day.
Yeah.
And then, and I spend probably 2-3 hours a day outside now, maybe more.
Oh, amazing.
I love it. And it just,
amazing.
Even if I'm in front of my screen the whole time, just the sunlight in general, just being outside really, really affects my stamina when it comes to work in a positive way. It affects how I'm able to concentrate. It stops those headaches from happening. And I'm able to just keep on going. We're meant to do that,
Yeah, that's where our ancestors, they were actually forced to do it. I'm not sure they were happy about it, getting up early in the morning and watching the sunrise. They were out working, right? Yeah. A lot of our farmers are out there working. So, looking at the sun early in the morning, going out at noon, so it registers, okay, it's noon. Your body can actually register that. Then going out again when the sun's going down. Okay, now, we're going to start, calming the body down, secreting hormones that are,
So interesting that the 3 Jewish prayers are around the same time too. It's early morning, as soon as the sun comes up, noon, and at night as the sun's going down.
Imagine if you prayed outside.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I don't. I do sometimes. But I never even associated that with that. But that could be part of the value of a routine schedule where every day it's a combination of meditation and actual, different points. You're sure to get outside between the point of waking up and getting to synagogue or praying, wherever you're praying or whatever you're doing. You're sure to be outside. And your circadian rhythm will be, consistent.
Oh, you can definitely reset your circadian. Like we have so many issues in our lives right now with stress and sleep affecting our health that, if your circadian rhythm is off, if you're not secreting the right hormones, like you need more cortisol when you need the cortisol, when you need that energy, and less at night when you're going to bed, you want that melatonin to kick in.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because I'm thinking about you saying you go and you pray 3 times a day. Like you're committed.
Yeah.
Something in you, there was a trigger, a switch went off and said, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I believe in this, right?
Yeah.
It
came from the value of, I have a tendency to be lazy. I think a lot of people do. And laziness is my least favorite trait in the world because it takes every other good trait that you have and throws it into the garbage because it doesn't make a difference how smart you are. It doesn't make a difference how talkative you are. It doesn't make a difference how naturally fit you are. It doesn't make any of that. None of that makes a difference because if you're lazy, you're lazy. You're not going to do it. So I started implementing that as a way to fight my laziness. And then, obviously there's the religious value, the spiritual, emotional, religious value to it as well. But one of the real reasons I really started working hard at it is because I did not want, it's regiment in the face of laziness. And then hopefully once I'm already getting myself out of the just sitting around zone, then that affects everything else I do. You know, when my wife asks me to do something, I'm much quicker to get up and jump up and show her that I care to do it. If my kid is crying, you know, my kid calls me or falls down, I pop up. I'm like, oh, it's not like, you know, go, you know, do your own thing. I'm on the couch. I don't want to get up right now. And hopefully it creates that kind of environment, but it affects everything in a positive way.
So it's kind of like that's your form of meditation.
I guess so. My meditation actually comes from, yeah, I want to work on meditation. I don't really know quite what that is.
But
Yes, we're gonna circle back. Yes,
you can meditate while you pray. Like meditation doesn't necessarily mean sitting and cross-legged. It can mean a lot of different things. You could be sort of active in your meditation. The Buddhists do a lot of walking meditation. But
oh yeah,
you know what?
I love that.
You can pair. Like if you were my patient, I would say, okay, if you go 3 times a day, you pray. Why don't you attach that to going outside?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're praying and you're looking up at the sky, you know, morning, noon, and evening. So now you're also resetting your circadian rhythm at the same time that you're doing something that you're 100% committed to.
Yeah.
So you know you're going to do it, and that's how you create a new habit,
yeah.
right? Like, and then now we have 2 lifestyle things that are dramatically going to impact your health, because praying is really calming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like unless you're rushing to get there, but
well, yeah, it depends on the day. I try to make it calming.
Yeah. So if you can, I mean, if you're rushing through a prayer and you're not feeling it, you know, I think it's important to like feel what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're praying for.
Yeah. It's a struggle every single time.
Is it?
It is because you're plopping yourself out of go mode.
Yeah.
And by the way, meditation would probably help with my prayer being more present, because I'm shifting without any transition. I'm shifting gears without putting my foot in the clutch. And so so it's very easy if I do it the wrong way to stall out, you know.
So here's the thing. So maybe what you can do. So just give me a synopsis. Where are you praying?
In a synagogue.
Okay, so you have to go to a synagogue.
Yeah, so I drive 15 minutes to the synagogue, 10, 15 minutes.
Is that stressful?
No, it's very pleasant.
Okay. So while you're in the car driving, if it's pleasant, why don't you start taking some deep breaths?
Yeah, that's what I got to do.
You know, you got to take some deep breaths. You know, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. You can say something if it calms you down, or just focus on your breath while you're driving. And that'll immediately get you into the present moment, so that when you get to the synagogue, you don't feel rushed or hurried. And the transition to prayer is a natural one, because you've already been meditating.
Correct.
And focusing on your breath for 15 minutes.
I've been shifting from first to second to third to fourth gear.
And this way you're not shifting. You get in the car, and it's not easy. Like to focus on your breath for those 15 minutes, try it. It's not an easy task to do.
It's not. I do 5 minutes at a time typically. When I'm overwhelmed, I'll breathe in for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds for 5 minutes, and sometimes I'll just focus on just like the time, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then sometimes, you know, like that voice of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the counting voice kind of starts to slip off to the side, and then other things start coming in.
Like what? In. Thoughts?
Yeah. But it's like a curtain being pulled back, you know, very, very slowly. And it's a little scary, honestly, to see what's going to come, because like, you're like, oh, this is like, I don't know. I've never been here before. You know, I went to a Grateful Dead cover band, in Port Chester. And there's something about this particular band. They're awesome. They're called Dark Star Orchestra. And I may have taken an edible beforehand. And I'm sitting there, and there are lights, and there's the music, and I'm a little high. And I was like, you know what, this would be, and the music was just magnificent. And I was like, and the lights, the way they were playing the lights of the concert was matching the tone of the music. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to try to do some breath work now while I'm here. And like, I almost kind of like slipped into like some kind of like
trance,
like psychedelic state. Yeah. You know, that I was like, whoa, like I'm not ready to like go quite there yet. And I kind of like stopped and pulled myself out of it. But I'd be curious to see what happens if like you kind of follow those paths all the way down. It's just a little scary too.
There's nothing, I mean, actually those places are magnificent. It's hard to do if you're high, like, then you don't know where you're going to land. But if you're not, that's a different thing. Yeah. And it is kind of scary to let yourself go, but those are good places to go.
I know. I've never had an experience where I was scared to do it and I regretted doing what I was scared about.
Oh yeah, well
You
that's
know,
yeah. Feel
but I've plenty of times I haven't done something I'm scared about and I've regretted it.
right.
You know, so full circle. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I've been keeping track of the whole conversation. So you have plastics, microplastics that are in your gut because you're eating this cheeseburger,
Oh yeah, we're back
and
to
you got
hamburger.
inflammation. and so now you're getting inflammation.
Well, now, and let's say, for example, a lot of people are sensitive to wheat. They have gluten sensitivities, not necessarily allergies. It's not like you're going to go into an anaphylaxis where you need an EpiPen, but you have sensitivity to wheat. So now you've got wheat going into your system. You've got these toxins, these
chemicals that are in these burgers.
So, but you know, right there, yep, we haven't even really gotten into the body, and we're filled with the potential for inflammation. So that's
so that means that inflamed just means upset. It means hurt, damage. What does inflammation mean?
So inflammation in the traditional sense means like you cut yourself. If you cut yourself, your body's way of healing is it creates an inflammatory response, and then cells get into that area that actually heal.
Okay.
You know, people talk about inflammation like a fire, you know, and you're putting the fire out. Okay. But then there are little fires happening in your body all the time because of this chronic inflammation that are stirring things up, that are creating damage there to the cells, to the lining of your vessels, creating a potential for a plaque, or to your organs, creating inflammation in particular organs. Or, you know, if you have
so there's all these little fires popping up around your body.
Correct. And so that's where chronic inflammation.
And if there's too many fires, your cells can't keep up to put them out.
So it's activating your immune system, right? So your immune system is no longer reacting to a virus or a bacteria, but it's chronically being activated, and it's creating damage.
Yeah.
It's actually creating oxidative stress, and it's creating damage, and that ages people.
Right.
It's a setup for Alzheimer's. It's a setup for a cardiovascular event because the lining of the artery can get inflamed and a plaque could break off. So it causes damage in many areas of your body.
The actual connections in our body. It's almost like the streets are getting damaged for our, like, is that like a good metaphor? Like if you're chipping away at the road and then it becomes bumpy to drive down and you're like, okay, I'm not going to take this road. But you know, if you don't take that road, then the connections in your brain aren't going to be as stable or secure.
I mean, pretty much if you think of, I mean, I like to use the example of fire because it actually makes a lot of sense. So you can have an acute inflammation where something happens, you cut yourself, your body sends things in there and it puts the hose and takes the fire out.
Okay.
But if you have this chronic inflammation from so many different things, and even stress can impede your immune system, so it's not working as well to put out these fires. Like there's these cascade of events that are happening it's not as simple as, it's like that whole element where you're talking about everything is connected. So if you're eating wheat, for example, and you're sensitive to wheat, and now the wheat enters into your stomach, it should just be processed in a normal person, and then your GI tract would work. That wheat protein would never be seen by your blood. It would never cause an antibody to be formed. It would never cause a reaction.
Interesting.
But now we have these chemicals disrupting the lining of the gut. So now the lining of the gut can potentially leak things that shouldn't be leaked into the bloodstream. And now the bloodstream is seeing.
So you're weakening your gut, and then things that your gut's supposed to naturally protect and prevent from getting into your bloodstream are able to get through.
Yeah. So your body sees them as foreign.
Right. And I bet a lot of it is foreign. I bet a lot, like the stuff that's I mean, I've heard
some of it is, some of it's not. Like an allergy to, you know, we shouldn't be allergic to our environment in theory. Why are we allergic to grass?
Yeah.
I mean, but we are, because people's immune systems are different, right? But there's we're just talking about one area where you can get a potential inflammation, because you brought up the hamburger, right?
Yeah.
But it sets off a cascade of many events if you're only eating this, and it's filled with chemicals, and it's filled with something that your body is sensitive to. Now your body is more inflamed, whether it's your brain or your heart, and now you're set up for chronic disease.
Wow.
And that's, you know, in the world of longevity medicine, it's like you try to figure out, okay, first of all, what's causing that inflammation? how do I bring that person back into balance? And there's so many elements that you need to look at, whether it's, the stress in their life, what they're putting in their bodies. Do they have problems with the lining of their gut? Are they overinflamed? Is their immune system overreactive?
Right.
Are they creating fires all over their body, which is basically like your car is rusting?
Yeah.
Right? So if you have a car, I used to use this metaphor all the time when I was giving lectures. Like, everyone takes their car in religiously, right, to be serviced.
Yeah.
People don't do that for themselves, unfortunately, until a lot of people, I shouldn't say everybody, some people are very proactive with their health, but most people don't react until something has happened, and then they get active.
Sure. And then it's a very slippery slope, by the way, because then
Right.
once you start realizing one thing, then you start realizing, oh my God,
Right.
it's all, like you said, because it's all connected.
Right.
But I feel like that actually scares some people off, because that causes it requires massive overhaul.
Well, it requires a massive overhaul if you already have a disease, and not always, but so that's why it's good to get someone like you in. So if we can get people taking care of themselves, learning about this when you're younger.
Yeah.
How do I prevent this?
Yeah.
How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
If you knew what you were genetically predisposed to, if you knew, that, drinking water out of plastic was bad and you stopped doing, if you learned that, okay, if I do this, if I look at the sun in the morning and at noon and at night, I'm going to reset my circadian rhythm. If I start meditating, I'm going to calm my nervous system down so I'm not always in the fight or flight mode. I'm going to, take toxic chemicals out of my house. There's so many interventions that we can do before you get sick. That would help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I could be wrong. I think Peter Attia calls it medicine 3.0. Like, the whole idea of, like, it's not just treating, it's like everything leading up to that to make sure it doesn't happen. But then if it does happen, we have the ability to help handle it, but don't wait for that to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, once you have a disease, it's much harder to reverse than prevent. It's really,
yeah. So that's what I'm trying to. So going back to my dad, that's what I'm trying to get him now to do these kind of things. So I'm like, you don't want that. You don't want to start fighting this.
Correct.
Once it's too late. You want to do this in advance so you never have to know about it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they don't want to change their lives. They're really comfortable in not doing what they should be doing.
Yeah.
It's really hard to change habits.
Yeah.
So that's why some people need a shock. They need to, now you go and you get blood work and, oh my God, my cholesterol is 300.
The shock is amazing. The shock is what it could do to people is crazy.
It can change people. You get diagnosed with something and that's going to motivate you. But the question is, how do you get motivated before that happens, right? Like, for some people, it's family.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a kid who's 2 and, how many weeks old?
1 week.
Okay.
Legit.
So, I want to be there when my kids, get married and have grandkids.
That was one of my good friends just now, by the way. He lost, I think 115 pounds in a year because he went to his doctor. His doctor's like, if you want, he has 4 kids under 6. Wow. I think at that point he had 2 and his wife was expecting, right? It's like, if you want to go to your kid's wedding, you got to cut this shit out. He goes,
and he did.
And he started exercising and he got a good amount of sunlight, but he started exercising and being healthy. Like, he just, I think eating, people turn eating into activity.
Yeah.
Not into, not into something that's just required. Like, it's not like putting in gas in your car. It's like, how can we get the purple bubblegum flavored gas? You try to take it into more fun experience.
Yeah, and you don't want to take that away from somebody.
Sure.
So, I try to always find a compromise for people because you don't want to take away their greatest pleasures or all of their pleasures. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you want to let them know if you continue behaving this way, you're a setup for, and then what? Then you're in the medical system. God, if you can avoid being in the medical system, if you can avoid medications, I mean, it saves you so much time, so much money.
That's, I think, the cause of people, the lead cause of bankruptcy among individual families or people being broke in America is medical bills.
Yeah, that's really
Medical
bad.
expenses. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
that's really terrible. I just like, there's so many things that we can do. And the thing is that it's really hard to tell somebody that if you exercise, you're going to feel good, especially if you haven't exercised.
Yeah.
And the first time you do it, it's really hard and you don't feel good. The next day you hurt and whatever. But at some point that switch goes off and it starts feeling good.
Yeah.
And you have to it's really hard to get the person to that point. But if you can, like with your dad, like do it with him, or like
Yeah.
just sometimes you just got to force yourself. I tell people, hire a trainer if you can afford it, or go to a gym, commit, pay for something. And usually people get committed when they pay for a gym membership. I'm going to go and start small.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming taking care of your health and this body, and then you've got your home and your kids, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in. So small steps.
Yeah.
Start small.
Yeah.
And then little by little it grows, like an investment.
It snowballs. Yeah.
It snowballs.
I don't recognize my house now from 2 years ago. I don't recognize the food in it. I don't recognize the cleaning material that we use.
Oh, your wife, she changed everything?
Oh, yeah. And me too. I do. I like to shop, actually. Shopping for me is like therapeutic. Even when I was in college and I'd be like stressed out over anything, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to Wegmans. I'm running to the supermarket. Like I'd run out. And just walking down the aisles, And so I do a lot of shopping now. And I'm looking, and today, actually, I was just coming back from Trader Joe's this morning. And I'm looking at my cart. I'm like, when did I turn into this person? Like when did I turn into the guy that was in college? All I'm putting in my cart was beer and like hot dogs.
I love it.
And now I'm putting in like cottage cheese and like quinoa pasta for like my wife and like all this stuff. I'm like, what is this? Like this is a trip. This is weird, But
it's great.
Yeah, but I think that the point is that I think it's scary for a lot of people to start, but I think it does snowball. I think people do have an easier time with it eventually.
And I think we do, it's so funny because we commit to going to work every day, but we can't, like, it's hard for us to commit to doing exercise. I know that work brings money, and I'm not saying that should be ignored, but it's interesting what we choose to commit to, like 100% of our time. And so it's really important to understand, especially when you're young, and it's easy to think, I'm so resilient, nothing's ever going to happen to me. Because you feel good, right? Yeah. So like, why do you have to change anything? But even small changes and then setting up those habits, like my mom, I remember my mom is 89 and she's in amazing shape. Like,
amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, she's
so happy. She should stay in healthy shape for a long time.
She walks every day, like twice a day. She's committed to that. She just eats. She's not even that interested in organic, but she's very wholesome. She cooks all her food. She doesn't eat out a lot.
My grandfather was the same way, and he was so healthy.
Right? Simple things.
He ended up, he was 91. He got a stroke, unfortunately, and he wasn't the same after that. But till he was 91, living alone.
Yeah.
Walked between 2 and 5 miles a day, into his 90s. Cooked by himself, granted simple food, you go to the farmer's market, you get some eggs, you get some meat, you get some yogurt, you get some whatever. And
where was he?
In New Jersey.
Oh, farmer's
Fairlawn,
market.
New Jersey. Yeah. You just stop at a local Fairlawn.
I love it.
And would just and he was sharp as a tack, and he was smart, and he was healthy, and he took care of the home, and he cleaned every day, and he lit, and like people would meet him and be like, you look better than my 60-year-old dad. You look better than my 65-year-old uncle. Like, it's crazy,
I mean, I know that like my mom, she's European.
So you grew up in a healthy family.
I actually really did. My mom is from Europe, and she grew up on a farm, Hungary.
Yes.
So, and she grew up, like, she also went through the Holocaust. So but she grew up on a farm. And so she's very back to the earth, organic in living. Like, she believed, like, when we were sick, she'd put us in a stroller. You got to get fresh air. You got to get fresh air. Like, here.
Oh my God, it's literally so reminiscent of my grandfather.
It's such a European attitude, but she's stoic. I mean, and she loves to clean. I think because she likes movement. She knows that, we don't do a lot of these things, we are eating packaged foods. We're not cleaning.
We're not cleaning. Cleaning is such a simple thing, and it feels so good.
I know. I mean, I hate to say it. I loved having someone clean my house, but at the same time, now when I clean, I put weights on.
It doesn't need to be a deep clean, by the way.
No.
Like, I can, like, my wife, like, I think maybe once every couple of months we'll hire just like someone to do a clean, like a deep clean.
Yeah.
But I do just wipe down counters, vacuum, fold laundry, and like you just like and again just the movement. You feel great. You feel alive. You feel like you're like.
Right, but try to convince people that cleaning is
I think you can.
yeah.
I think that you gotta get, you know, you gotta get the right people to do it. I think I really do. You gotta get people that people look up to, and it's like because I think it's all associations, right? It's
Yeah.
all like people like associate wiping down counters and vacuuming with like a grumpy old woman in a TV in a movie or Cinderella or something like that, you know?
You know what I like about cleaning? There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. I'm not talking about cleaning out your closets. I'm like the floor. Like if
Yeah.
I take on the task of a floor, it's so pleasurable to like, literally have an ending. Like
Yeah.
a lot of life doesn't have an ending, and that's what makes it stressful is you don't know where it's going.
It's such a great. I never noticed it, but you're correct. Because when you're done and you look around and it's like you feel like you're in a different room.
You did it. You
Yeah.
cleaned the floor. I mean, a basic task. And then I told you I started wearing weights when I clean and bands on my legs because
My mom does that.
and I'm like, this is great. Like I'm sweating. I'm exercising. So now my cleaning has like many purposes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually I look forward to it because I know I'm getting a lot, but I understand people are busy and
I don't know. I think it's good for you. I don't think it's a bad thing to say that. I think it's a part of the. Like, I think responsibility and meaning and happiness all go hand in hand, and I think that choosing to take on even simple things adds to your sense of responsibility, which adds to your sense of meaning and happiness, which ultimately helps. You know, and it might be a little thing, and you're like, okay, poo poo, but like you do it, you feel like a better human being. You know,
it's also like we've gotten away from that organic type of living because we a lot of us do, we work so much. We're in offices, we're in closed spaces. Some people are really isolated, very different than what our ancestors did, and I think like I always think, how do I get back to the basics? Like really like finding pleasure in the smallest of things, because if you don't look for them, you don't find them.
Yeah.
And then your life, you have to think, everyone's saying, what are you grateful for? Like some people have nothing on their list. So you got to find the littlest of things, right?
Yeah.
Like to start, you have to start somewhere, like whether it's your diet or your gratitude journal or your meditation or your prayer, like, or your breathing, like just start. And the thing is, you're never going to be ready. You cannot wait until you're ready.
Yeah.
Because if you wait till you're ready,
I'm so happy it's coming from you and not me.
But that's how I
so
feel.
Said, I agree with you.
Train myself.
Yeah.
I mean, these are thoughts I have to say every day. Like you have to get up and just do it, because you're not going to be ready to start that project ever, because I would say I'm kind of type A. Yeah. You have to be kind of to get through med school. And so unless it's perfect, I don't proceed. And so I'm trying to retrain my brain. Actually, I'm learning a lot about neuroplasticity, which is amazing. I love it, because up until now I've been in that, in my personal life, working on my spirituality, and I put that in quotation marks. And now I'm also using my neuroplastic brain to help me. So it's not just about spirituality. It's like, I want to change those pathways that, I've been doing this for a long time and I don't like this habit. So how do I change it?
Yeah. So what are some things that you do to do that?
So first of all, you
wanted to actually first define neuroplasticity in case everyone listening doesn't know. Sorry, because I'm familiar with it, but I want to make sure that.
Well, so the brain has the ability to constantly create new neural pathways. So like who you are today, if you don't like a certain element of how you think or how you are, you can actually change that. And I actually remind all my patients, like, just remember, the body wants to heal. Like whatever it's doing, whether it's inflammation or even other things, chronic diseases, a lot of it, your body really doesn't want to be sick. Your body is moving towards healing. Your brain is not just this organ that's sitting there and it's not changing. It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to change the way you think in your daily life. If you've been taking the same path to work every single day, that path is ingrained, right? And it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Imagine that. And then over time, you could put planks, because it's so deep, it's muddy, you put planks and you make it even more solid, right? And that's where, chemicals start to get secreted in your brain, and that path is really well defined. Okay, I want to go on a different path.
Yeah.
So now how do you do that? How do I create new neural pathways? I want to change. So first of all, you have to try something different. You have to think differently and you have to try something different. So when I say you don't...
Is it a big thing or it could be a little thing?
No, really small.
Like what, for example?
So let's say...
Say it was me this afternoon.
Let's think about, let's say you think poorly about yourself, for example. Okay. Sure. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. You were born, your parents would say you're not good enough. You grew up thinking I'm not good enough. Now that pathway is pretty set in your brain. So everything that hits you in life says I'm not good enough. I can't do this, right? Okay. So now I want to change that. So there have been studies that show that one of the first things that you can do is you can cheer yourself on like a coach and say, no, you can do this.
I started doing it when I jog.
Do you?
I do it when I jog, yeah.
That's even more...
Especially when I was at my parents'
If you have movement and a thought, it's even more powerful in creating neuroplasticity, changes in your brain.
When I grew up in upstate New York, in Rockland County, and it's very hilly there. And I started jogging just after college, and I was I'd take on these huge hills. And then I would say to myself while I'm doing it, you got this. I'd say it out loud. I'd hear it over my music in my headphones while I'm jogging up the hill. You got this. The only thing stopping you is you. The only thing stopping you is you. You got this. You got this. You got this. And I'd even feel like a little pick me up. I feel almost like my legs would go almost like a little pickup. And I mean, it didn't magically change my performance, 100%, but
it takes time.
Yeah, but it definitely, over time, for sure.
And even saying what did you say? The only
thing stopping me is me.
Right. So even that has a little negative connotation. So if you made that more positive, listen, you've done this before in your life. You've overcome other situations. Think about something that you've overcome. Then you go, you can do this.
I did that just now, actually, when I had a full-on panic attack before my son was born. I wasn't ready to be a dad. Oh. I don't know what I'm not ready. I don't know what it means to you're ready. I don't know. Oh my God. And and the doctor goes, okay, it's time. I'm not ready. They're we're not asking you. And then this time I was about to, I felt a similar sensation. And I said to myself, what are you nervous? You're not going to be ready. But you've already done this with a kid.
That's it.
I'm not going to, I know. Okay. So think about what I'm nervous about. I'm nervous about the fact that it's going to be uncomfortable with my wife. I'm nervous because I don't want to look anywhere near that while it's happening. I'm nervous because, I'm not going to sleep for the first couple of months. You did that already. What are you so nervous about? You did that already. I actually had to write that down to myself. And when it came time, it was the calmest I've ever, it was such a calm birth. It was such a calm experience.
Because you could have gone down the path of being
I felt
anxious.
it starting. I really felt it starting. And my wife and I talked about it. I was like, I'm getting nervous. I'm getting anxious.
You created new neural pathways. That's neuroplasticity.
That's neuroplasticity.
Yeah, because you could have easily just stayed in that panic mode and up until the birth been in panic mode, and after the birth been in panic mode, and you're not. So something changed.
Yeah.
So you took a thought, you took a process in your body that says, I'm not going to be ready. Whatever negativity you had, and you made it something different. That's a different part of your brain. When you take that thought,
I'm in unexplored territory. It's positive.
It's a different part of your brain you've accessed a different part of your brain. Now you have to nourish that path.
Right.
Because that path is new.
So it's not just enough to have it. I have to make sure that I'm tending to it.
Now you have to nourish it.
Yeah.
And you have to make it hardwired.
Right.
Right? Because it's still fresh, right? Like a path, if you walk through grass and it's the first time you walk, you may not look back and see there's a path. But if you walk it 100 times, now all of a sudden, I see that path is worn. Mm-hmm. So now you work on that thought process the next time you have a panic attack. Yeah. Hopefully you won't. But if you do, you go, no, I've been here. I know what this is. I know what to do. I've got this. I don't need to go here. I've got this. Yeah. I know exactly what this is. And actually you can ask yourself, did it serve me?
That's a great question too. Did it serve me?
Right? Because a lot of times your body, the reason you went into that panic mode is because you had an experience. It usually, something brought you to that. Either you've had it before. So you have to think, did it serve me to have that? And usually did it?
Yeah.
Did it help you?
No.
Right.
Never.
Never.
Well, actually, the only time that I think it might have is when it comes to being able to relate to other people.
Having a panic attack?
Meaning to be able to say, I know that you've been, like, I know what
empathy.
you're going through.
Empathy.
It helps enormously with empathy.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's
because
actually
it says, I understand what you're going through.
Right.
And I also, I too have had these concerns, these fears, these insecurities, and I've been where I've stood in the same pair of shoes already. You're going to be fine, and or whatever. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you're not going to not figure it out, so.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I so relate to that because so many times things happen in my life and I'm like, wait a second, I didn't sign up for this. Like, why is this doesn't really fit? And then I'll have a patient come in.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, or it may not be right away.
Yeah,
maybe a while later,
yeah.
And I go, oh, I know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I can help you move through this. So there's always value. If you can see the value in it, it changes your perspective. And once you change your perspective, you create a new neural pathway.
Yeah.
That's part of neuroplasticity.
So you're working actively on your neuroplasticity now, or you're okay? Gotcha. So
yes.
what are some things you're working on?
So right now I'm doing this experiment with. Normally I used to my self-talk was I.
Okay.
Okay, like I am whatever.
Sure.
I am capable. I am powerful. Whatever. That's a lot of the self-talk, and I realized there's been some studies that show that the more powerful way to do it is like coaching yourself, as if
So you as opposed to I.
You.
Interesting.
As a powerful game changer when it comes to neuroplasticity, is kind of coaching yourself. So I now I put myself in it because a lot of times, even when I'm talking to. Sometimes, you have friends who are going through something and they can't hear what you're saying. Even when I'm going through something, sometimes you just can't hear what
sure, yeah.
So I say, what would you say to your bestie? If your bestie was going through this, what would you tell them? Mm-hmm. Now do that to yourself.
It's the hardest thing to do.
It's really hard.
I had to do that for a breakup one time when I was in college. Actually, more than one. Believe me, more than once. But in college with a really long relationship, 2 years plus. My entire college experience while I was there, because I transferred in. And I was in this relationship. I remember thinking to myself, like, if my friend came up to me and told me this whole story and asked me what I would do, what would you do?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to tell them that, but that's also you,
But then how would you coach them? How would you coach them out of it?
Right.
Like, you really have to set yourself aside. Like, you're going through a breakup and you'd say, hey, dude, you got this. Yeah. Like, there's going to be other women. You're going to be fine. Like,
studies observe that, the I versus you, because I did notice that I refer to myself as you.
Oh, that's good.
But it's I don't know why. It just kind of felt better.
Maybe you watched a Seinfeld episode.
Probably. I love Seinfeld. That's right. Timmy. There's a Timmy, right? Yeah. Timmy fell. Timmy's in pain.
Yeah. Don't do this in public. This is only inside your head, everyone who's listening to this podcast right now. You do this inside your head, not in public. You do not refer to yourself in third person.
Yes, correct. Unless you're in Seinfeld. And you're okay then.
Yeah, unless there's a camera on you. That's hilarious.
But
they show. So I'm experimenting with that because a lot of teachers in the self-help world are focusing on the I, and I'm experimenting with that. And I know with neuroplasticity, it's also engaged when you do exercise. Movement allows more blood flow to happen to the brain anyway. So, before you want to study or before you give a talk or something where you need full-blown brain capacity, it's good to do some exercise because it gets the blood flowing to the brain. Those 60,000 miles get active, right? But if you pair it with exercise, so you have to change the way you think, which is not easy, but it's practice like anything else. And now we're going to talk in third person and we're going to coach ourselves. We're going to say, you got this, girl. You got this. You've done this before.
So it's important to do this but it's extra reinforcement if you're doing it while you're exercising or while you're moving?
I'm taking 2 studies in neuroplasticity where, they say when you exercise, if you cross over, like if you're doing that, you're thinking at the same time. And what that does is it creates a lot of neuronal response in your brain. So it's good. I teach my patients with dementia or Alzheimer's, like when they're or when they feel like they have memory loss. One of the exercises that I tell them to do is crossover. While you're exercising, cross your body, like across the midline.
Interesting.
Right?
What are you doing? Any kind of exercise?
Well, just at least some of your exercise should incorporate cross.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because it enhances brain activity. So now you've added a different element.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're just doing up and down, it doesn't have as much brain activity as now if you're going across.
Oh, so
and
interesting.
And then if you add a conversation, so if you're out with your girlfriends or your guy friends and you're walking and you're talking and you're thinking, that's adding more brain activity.
Yeah.
So I'm combining all of these on my own, thinking, well, I don't know if there's a study. I'm just making it up on my own.
I love it. So
I'm going to exercise and I'm going to cross over. I'm going to make sure I do cross the midline of my body. And I'm going to do this type of thinking. I'm going to coach myself.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know what happens.
I want to know. You know, Steve Jobs used to do all his business meetings on walks. He wouldn't do them in an office.
It's a great idea.
You most intense conversation, big corporate merger, whatever it is.
I love that.
Let's go for a walk. That's what he would say every single time. Let's go for a walk. And they take a 45-minute, hour-long walk while they were.
I love it.
Yeah.
People make fun of me at work because I'm always moving.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say exercising, but I have a stand-up desk. I have a bouncing ball near my desk. And yeah, it looks weird. I mean, people make fun of me.
Yeah, it shows life. It shows enthusiasm. It shows life. It shows that you're vital.
It keeps
it shows vitality.
It's better than sitting at a desk all day. You know what I mean? If I'm going to have to stare at a computer, I want to be moving at the same time. I want something productive to come physically, health-wise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. I have to run. I'm so sad that I have to run too because I feel like I feel like we're 5 minutes in.
We're just getting started.
So I hope we'll do part 2. You can do it soon, or hopefully many parts, as you know, as the podcast keeps on going and as you keep on learning and growing. But this is so much fun. We barely skimmed the bucket. Yeah, exactly. So I hope we can do another podcast soon. But this is so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, I'll talk to you. Thank you so much.